posh independents versus posh corporates. Can Fine and Country beat the likes of what, quite frankly, is a corporate estate agent, albeit posh, with the likes of Savills and Knight Frank? Talk to me.
So it's a good question. So I think that from the customer's point of view, I don't think that there is necessarily a choice they're making between an independent or a corporate. I don't think that's necessarily the way they see the choice of the agent they're going to instruct. They're going to instruct that based on what that person, what that company is going to do for them in their home. That's what they're interested in. So for Fine and Country agents, then there's so many ways of skinning this cat. But what we do our best to help them with is their strategy for. There's a 3-part strategy that we help them with. Is we call it exposure, presentation, and service. And really, we can delineate everything that we do into those 3 categories, and we want each of those to be the best for the end customer. Because if we get those 3 things right, then we've done the best we can in order to help sell that property. So just to put a little bit more meat on the bone of that. So if we start with presentation first, and we're thinking about how we bring that property to market, what level of presentation are we going to offer that vendor, be that drone videography, be that Matterport, be it something we've been doing for years and years and years, which is our vendor interviews, where we call the vendor and we talk to them about what attracted the property in the first place, what they're going to miss, all that sort of stuff.
It's a story.
It is, and we build that story into the marketing, so buyers can envisage themselves there a little bit more easily. So that's there's more to it, obviously, but in terms of our presentation, in terms of our exposure, and then this starts to really come into its own, because when we're talking about, so an average property on the UK Fine and Country side, we have about 5,000 properties for sale at any one time, is just over £800,000. So what we want to do is if we're going to achieve the best possible price for those vendors, we have to expose that property in the right way with the right presentation to the widest possible marketplace.
To the right marketplace.
Exactly. And so that exposure is really important. So whether that's our national advertising, whether that is in our online advertising, whether it is in the fact that we have 300 offices around the world who are all financially incentivized to find them a buyer, and so on and so on and so on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's part of it, and there's probably quite a lot of people don't know about Fine and Country, which I think is our fault. And the last part of it is the service, and that's where the estate agent really comes into its own. And we talk about these 2 balances of exposure and expertise, which Fine and Country can bring together perfectly. So someone who you might know is a gentleman called Napoleon, who runs Fine and Country in Webbers down in the West Country. And Webbers, do you know Webbers? I think they've got 14, 15 offices
Never
in the
met
West
the guy,
Country.
but know of him.
Brilliant guy. And he told me a long time ago, and he still says it to this day, is that those 2 elements can almost beat any other competitor. That he uses the power of Fine and Country's exposure of a national and international brand, along with his local expertise of being an independent, dedicated estate agent. Obviously, there's more to it than that, but those 2 parts together are very, very compelling.
It's almost like the Fine and Country, and I'm not being paid to say this, although I pretty well should be, is giving them a coat of credibility that means they can compete against the likes of your big boys, your corporate posh boys, the likes of your Savills and your Knight Frank. I know you couldn't possibly comment, that's my words. Yet at the same time, they've got skin in the game because they're local, they're not just an employee, they're the boss.
Yes.
It sounds great.
So
where's the catch?
You're right, but it can't just be...
Is there a catch?
No, I'll come on to that in a second. But just on one point you made there, and thank you for saying that, by the way, it's very kind. But it can't just be, it's got to be more than a code to wrap around. It can't just be that, because I think that vendors can see through that. It comes a little bit back to the...
Especially the sort of, we're dealing with...
More discerning...
We're doing A's and B's demographics. They can spot a BS merchant.
Exactly. It has to be properly differentiated proposition for them to say, okay, this is worth me paying a premium for, which I'll come on to in a moment as well. But the other thing is that why I say that they are independent is lots of people, and we were talking about it just a moment ago, get Fine and Country confused for a franchise.
Yes.
And we're very much not a franchise.
Okay.
So the way Fine and Country works, I'll keep it short, is we're a license. So that has 2 main differences to a franchise, which is control and financial. In terms of control, so take Webbers, for example. So Webbers are still owned by the Webbers shareholders. We don't have any share in that. We don't take a percentage of their profit or, God forbid, revenue or anything like that.
Because that's how most franchises work. It's a percentage of turnover.
Yes, exactly. And we don't do that. We have a low, flat, fixed license fee. And the reason is because if you were going to pay that percentage, the obvious thing to say is the better you do, the more you pay, and it almost becomes a tax on success, and we want to avoid that. So do our licensees. So there's that part of it. And the second part of it is about the control. So again, use Webbers. I'll pick on Napoleon again. So he can choose the way that he uses the brand in conjunction with Webbers. It doesn't replace Webbers. We have our brand guidelines, so we protect the brand, but then how he uses that within the wider context of his business is up to him.
So it doesn't actually have to have a standalone branch half a mile down the road?
No. And it's very flexible in the way that it is operated in terms of office spaces and so on. There isn't a set criteria for that. We come back to something that we said earlier. Who's going to know best how to run an estate agency?
Well, it's going to be the estate agent.
It's going to be Napoleon, exactly. So we defer to him and then we help him with his marketing. So all of that control in terms of how they operate their business, what software systems they use, we don't interfere with that. Webbers clearly isn't broken. We're not going to try and fix that. We help him with his fine and country marketing so that he has the way maybe there's a little bit cliche, Chris, so bear with me on this.
Come on, then.
But what we try and do is provide the business class element of their business. So it's still the Webbers plane, but the customer goes in and turns left. That's the idea. So to flesh that out a little bit more, they're going on the same journey, they're flying at the same speed, the same altitude, but they're paying a premium for a premium service. And we know business class, Virgin upper class, flights sell out all the time. That is a very, very in-demand marketplace, and that's what we are trying to
If you can prove the worth.
Exactly. And if you can't, then you don't deserve it. So that's where we come in, and we help them provide that.
So do you have any criteria of, let's be honest, if I'm a fine and country licensee, how do I protect that the guy next town who could be a bit of a, doesn't get a license because it could drag my brand down, drag me down?
Absolutely. So two things. The first one is that every licensee has a exclusive geographical area. So we work that out with them on postcodes, and that is theirs exclusively to operate within. And the second thing is us. So we turn down more applications than we ever approve for fine and country licenses. We're very selective. We don't advertise for it, really. This is about as close
No, I've never seen it.
No, we don't really do it. And we've grown through word of mouth, organically, direct approaches. Maybe that's old school, I don't know.
I don't know. So if someone isn't aware of a fine and country brand in their town, can they approach you?
Yeah, sure.
But it's pretty rigorous.
It's one of those things where we know whether we're a good fit for each other. We know. And the types of businesses that we work with are...
Do you talk to agents in the vicinity and ask them?
So when somebody joins, for example, then what we do is we talk to the neighbouring licensees and get a yay or a nay from them, because they've got to be part of the same...
Well, that's nice.
Network. It's nice. It's actually part of our contract that we do that with our licensees, because we want to work with the right companies.
Wow.
And to be fair, again, they're going to know that better than us. So you would know who the best agencies are in Grantham.
So it's like a big. It's like a big club of estate agents, albeit top quartile. It's like a big club, isn't it?
What's nice is that when we come together for conferences or meetings or whatever, and you were there and is that because they're not competing with one another, they're very open with one another. They want to share ideas, and that's something that they want. And as much as we can facilitate, is the sharing of best practice.
And how often do the licensees meet up?
Very regularly, right from our big annual conference that we had in London a couple of weeks ago, through to regional meetings, through to local meetings. We do as much as we can without stepping on their toes, if you know what I mean.
Excellent. Well, I think you've answered the question, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.